communications, but a couple of years ago, I decided to quit the industry and go back to the academia. This is what I think I do better, although this is maybe questionable, but at least I know I can do this better than medicine, which I did not like at all. So I'm back to the humanities. I'm gonna share my screen and talk about the project I'm gonna talk about today. And please feel free to ask questions anytime, unless the organizers have a different policy. I personally like it when people ask questions on the spot because this way I don't forget what the question is, what the important points are. So today, so can everyone see my screen first?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you so much. So today I'm going to talk about digital humanities for the study of history. And I like history a lot. First, I'm just some disclaimers first. I like history as a person, but I am not a historian. So everything I say in this presentation, I do not say as a historian, but as a computational linguist who studies text. So I take text, I take archives and work on them. Whatever results I get, if historians do not agree with me on them, that's completely fine. I do not claim to be a historian. I definitely am not. I also do not believe that human historians will be replaced with robot historians. I believe that the collaboration between the human and the machine holds the future for the humanity. I'm a believer in the potential of computers, of computing machinery in general. And I think that machines can revolutionize every aspect of human life. They have already done lots of things to communication, and without Facebook and Instagram and these.
So you just muted there?
Sorry, someone has unmuted me, has muted me. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you again.
Okay, I don't know where I stopped, but I'm saying that the collaboration between humans and machines is actually, in my opinion, the best way forward. So we are not looking to replace historians by history machines or anything. Also, another disclaimer, some people looked at my picture and I look a lot different, so please don't hold me responsible for this. Iman selected the picture from an online website. So I have to distance myself from that choice. That picture, yes, it's mine, I admit to that, but it doesn't look like me at all. This was 15 years ago or something. Okay. So today to talk about the context of this presentation, we currently have quite a big project called the Computational Study of Culture. That project is a collaboration between Doha Institute in Cairo, the Catholic University of Leuven in Belgium, and the University of Wolverhampton in the UK. And the funding agency for this is the QNRF, that's the Qatar National Research Fund. So we have been collaborating with QNRF actually on different fronts, and they have provided quite a bit of funding to this project and other activities that we have done. And the aim of this project is to digitize and analyze culture production in Arabic from the beginning of Arabic printing till around 1950, but our focus is on magazines and newspapers. So we want to study the history and the culture of, let's say, the MENA region in general through magazines and newspapers, and also some books, although the focus on magazines and newspapers is important one. We have quite a lot of work. So far, we have digitized over 20,000 pages. We have our own OCR system. This OCR system is not part of the project. It's actually a project that I worked on with other people on a different project. And it is currently the most accurate OCR system for right to left languages. So it does almost every language in the world. But when it comes to Arabic, Persian, and Hebrew, this is by far the best OCR system in the world. We have used this system and we compared its results with human typists actually. And it turns out that our system is far better than human typists.
Excuse me, can you just tell us the name of that system and where we can find about it?
It doesn't have a name yet. It's a bunch of bash scripts on Unix machines.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a research project, but it has been used actually by some institutions, and we are in talks with, so it has been used by institutions in Qatar and in the Netherlands.
Right.
But it doesn't have a, if you want to use the system, you know, just let me know, we can talk about it. But right now it's a research project. It's not commercialized yet, but it's about to be commercialized. Before it gets commercialized, if you know, make use of it, I'll be happy to provide help with that. So so far we have done 20,000 pages that we have checked. Actually, the actual number is way above 50,000 pages, but we digitize, we scan, digitize, and turn it into machine readable text. We have checked 20,000 pages so far, and we still have something like 30,000 in the pipeline. Today's experiment, and I call it experiment because we are talking about digital humanities, which is doing science with history. So I present an experiment, and that experiment was done at the end of 2019, actually, in Zurich. Amr Riyad is professor of Islamic history at KU Leuven, the Catholic University of Leuven in Belgium. Amr wrote his PhD on Al-Manar, actually, Al-Manar magazine, that the one which was edited by Rashid. We're going to talk about this. So we decided, so Amr had questions about digital methods. So we decided to do something. We were both invited to a special session on digital humanities in Zurich, at the University of Zurich in Switzerland. And we decided to do something. So I studied Al-Manar, the Al-Manar magazine, using my digital methods. And Amr, you know, studied using his history methods. And we decided not to talk to each other for a while until we gave a presentation. So I would give my presentation and he would give his presentation, and then we would compare our results. So we did things separately, then collaborated. That collaboration resulted in a paper that's about to be published in the journal Philological Encounters. So the project is to study the history of Al-Manar. Basically, what questions did Al-Manar raise during its lifetime from 1899 to 1935? What are the important incidents? What things was Rashid Rida interested in? What things happened in Egypt during that time, in the Muslim world in general, and, you know, Muslim-Christian interaction, which was a big part of Al-Manar, and so on. So the corpus that we're talking about is Al-Manar. That's 4,552 documents or files, close to 7 million words. Al-Manar itself had more than 305 contributors. So 305 writers wrote in this, but Rashid Rida wrote 74% of the articles. So Rashid Rida can be seen as the sole editor and major contributor to Al-Manar magazine. So you can see it as a Rashid Rida monologue of some sort, with occasional interventions from other writers. The way I decided to do this, so I got the text in front of me. I decided to do this, and I decided to, I said it may be the best tool to study the history without actually reading the magazine itself. To do something computational, fully computational, fully automatic, without any human intervention. That takes something like 20 minutes to read all those files and get your results. This is something called topic modeling. Topic modeling is well known in the computer science community, and people interested in digital humanities use it also a lot. So topic modeling is a statistical method. So you just provide the computer or the software with the documents. Okay, so there's a poll. I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about the poll. It's just a question to see how many people actually had a background in what you're talking about.
Yeah. So topic modeling is just, a bunch of documents. You pass them to a piece of software, a program, and the program tells you the topics in these documents. And the good thing about topic modeling is that it can deal with huge amounts of data. So if you pass it 1 million documents, that's fine. If you pass, a 10 million, that's fine. If you give it 100 documents, that's also fine. So when you do something on Wikipedia, for example, and this is part of the topic modeling of Wikipedia. If you pass the Wikipedia, the whole English Wikipedia to the topic modeling software, you get something like this. You get a topic like river, lake, mountain, lagoon, land, hill. Another one, artillery, troops, frontline, assault, raid, war, plane. Then another, cholera, Spanish flu, vaccine, medicine, doctor, child learning, school, teacher, and notebook. So it gets you a bunch of keywords, but these keywords, when put together, form a topic. So it doesn't tell you what the topic is. It just gives you something like this. You choose the number of topics, maybe 10, 50, 100. So we can look at the first one and say, this is about nature. The second one is about war, medicine, or plagues, and then children and schools, and so on. Okay, so you can easily use topic modeling with English, and the results are usually very good. Now, can we use topic modeling with Arabic? Okay. Unfortunately, things are not that straightforward. So you pass Al-Manar, for example, to a topic modeling software, and you find the first topic is like Al-Kitab. I assume that most people know Arabic. If you don't, please, raise your hand, let me know. So الكتاب كتاب وكتاب كتابنا كتبنا وللكتب فللكتب فلكتبهم. Yeah, it's all about book, but it's one single item. It's not a topic, just saying book. And the problem here is that Arabic is a morphologically rich language. So lots of forms come together to mean the same thing. That first topic just means a book. And the second one, Ra'is, 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 Al-Ra'is, Al-Ra'is, it all means president. But the thing is, you see, you have the morphological complexity. Al-Ra'is, the definite article is written as part of the word, but we also have lots of typos. Arabic speakers and writers have a hard time with the Hamza, for example. And then we find the third one, Sharia, it's all the same word, but also problems with the ta marbuta, with the dots on the words. And the thing is, you pass the corpus you have, you pass the collection you have to the topic modeling software, and you don't get satisfying results. All you get is the same word repeated, those things that are not related, and it's due to two main reasons. Number one, the morphological complexity of Arabic, and number two, the orthographic conventions of Arabic, or the flouting thereof. So people do not follow the same conventions in writing Arabic, and you have these problems. This makes it quite hard, very hard to use something like topic models, which is a very successful algorithm. used on English, it makes it very hard to use on Arabic. So our problem was this, and we decided to solve it. There's also one other problem that we want to tackle, and this is what's called named entity recognition. Named entity recognition, we're not going to use it today, but it's very important. It's going to be in our next publication. So named entities basically is finding out what the piece of text is talking about. So we want to find the people in the text, the places in the text, the institutions, things like that. So if we have something like this in Arabic, يتحدث اليوم عماد محمد في الجامعة الأمريكية بالقاهرة عن استخدام الإنسانيات الرقمية في دراسة التاريخ، ويوجد مقر الجامعة الجديد في التجمع الخامس بمدينة القاهرة. I hope I'm right. You know, this is just a piece about the American University and its new headquarters in Al-Qahira, in Cairo. So we have a piece of text like that. We want to know what this piece of text is talking about. And this is where named entity recognition comes in. So we can find a date, for example, اليوم, today. This is a date, so we can find this. And we can find people, Ahmed Muhammad. And we can find institutions, الجامعة الأمريكية بالقاهرة and الجامعة. And there's also something called named entity linking, which links these two together. And we have disciplines, الإنسانيات الرقمية and تاريخ. And we have places or geographical locations, التجمع الخامس and مدينة القاهرة. So in order to understand text, you need to know the basic ideas of the text. That's what topic modeling gets you. And you need to know the main entities mentioned in the text, whether they are people, places, disciplines, names of weapons, all these kinds of called entities, named entities, and we need to find these out. We can combine named entities, named entity recognition, with topic modeling, where we do the named entity recognition first and then do the topic modeling. If you noticed, if we go back to topic modeling, we can see, for example, that these are single words. So if you look at number 3, we have cholera, comma, Spanish, comma, flu, comma. But we know that Spanish flu is a term. It's 2 words, but it's a term. But in modern applications of topic modeling, these are used as 2 separate words. But if we can do named entity recognition, we can use Spanish flu as one thing, and we can use the River Nile as another entity, and not be bound by word boundaries, but by semantic units, things that have a meaning in themselves, no matter how many words there are in that unit. So how do you solve the problem of the Arabic orthography and the problem of getting ideas from text using topic modeling in Arabic? So we worked on something called, this was work by Zishan Mohammed, who was my postdoc, and myself. So we worked on a system that does Arabic morphological analysis. That Arabic morphological analysis and orthography correction system is called Arabic SOS, and it's available online. You can download it and use it. So basically, it solves most of these problems. So if we have the text, okay. So if we have the text, this taken from the Shamila website of Al-Manar, the first thing we do is extract the text. It comes in HTML. So the first thing we do is extract the text. And the text does not have sentence boundaries or paragraph boundaries. So we wrote a piece of software that uses artificial intelligence, something specifically called machine learning. So we use machine learning to reconstruct paragraphs and sentence boundaries. Then we use another piece of machine learning called Arabic SOS and orthographic correction. Then we use something called stemming, and we're going to see how this looks like. And after we all do this is all the pre-processing step for topic modeling. Once we do that, we combine that with information that we extracted about the authors of the articles and the dates these articles were written. And we do a combination of topics, authors, times, and so on. And this is actually where I stopped. So after I did that, I passed all this information to Amr Riyad, my collaborator and old friend from Al-Azhar University. So I passed all this information to him, and then we worked together. And this is where qualitative analysis comes in. So I did the digital stuff, he does the qualitative analysis, and this competence. Today, I'm going to present only the digital stuff, not the qualitative analysis. Maybe you can invite Amr to talk about these things again. He's a very approachable and nice person. And I don't know whether he's he's attending. But let's look at what the Arabic SOS system does. We have a sentence. If you read it, the one on top, it's meant to say ولعلي بن أبي طالب أمير المؤمنين قول ذكره المؤلف في كتابه. That's what it means to say. But if you read it, and if you want to read it, it said ولعلى بن أبي طالب أمير المؤمنين. المؤمنين is misspelled, the Hamza problem again. And the word قول is actually written as full, not qawl. You know, in the keyboard, the qaf and the fa look very similar. And if you have a typist, they might not even, you know, if you have an old text like Al-Manar and someone is typing it, they might not, they type almost automatically. They might not notice that it's a qaf, not a fa. ذكره المؤلف again, and في كتابه كتابة, not كتابه. So if you pass this to any analysis system, it will get you very wrong results. So the first thing we do is do orthography standardization, and this all happens 100% automatically. The orthography standardization gets you the correct way to write it. So it will be ولعلي بن أبي طالب أمير المؤمنين قول ذكره المؤلف في كتابه again. Then this is passed to something called morphological segmentation. The morphological segmentation system pieces the word out. So ولعلي, for example, it's made up 3 units actually: wa, li, and ali. The waw is a conjunction, the lam is a preposition, and ali is a proper noun. And al-mu'minin, again, it's made of different parts. Dhakarahu, this is a verb and a pronoun that is actually an object pronoun. And kitabihi, as you can see, it's a noun and a possessive pronoun. So we want to get the stems. For topic models, we are interested only in the stems. The stems are the basic units in these words. So wali ali, for example, we don't care a lot about, you know, wa and li. We want just ali, and al-mu'minin, we want the basic thing, mu'min. And kitabihi, we care only about kitab, and that's what stemming does. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'minin, and so on. So how good is this system? The Arabic SOS system is currently the best orthography correction and segmentation system for Arabic available, with segmentation accuracy of 98.8%, and an orthography correction accuracy of 99.999 something percent. So this actually, you know, in orthography correction, it surpasses human correction, unless you have a very dedicated linguist who studied Arabic for years and years and really is really good at it. This automatic system is better than most humans in this thing. And for the morphological segmentation, it's as good as humans. So now we are ready to do, once we have all this, we are ready to do the topic modeling.
If I could just interrupt there for a moment, I just shared on the chat the link to the GitHub side for Arabic SOS.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So this is the end of the introduction. So if you have any questions about these theoretical things, please ask the questions. Next, I will show the results of that specific experiment. So should I go on with the results or get some questions first? Mark, what do you think?
If anyone has a question, you can share them through the chat at the moment if you like. Otherwise, we'll just press on. Well, as we wait, can you perhaps clarify a little bit about which parts of your tools are self-created or which parts you're using from third parties? Are any of these tools your own code, or did you build on existing tools?
So everything here is our own code.
Okay.
So this was a system that Zishan and I created from scratch.
Okay.
And so yeah, basically the part that the topic modeling software is not ours; it's third party. But the analysis, the SOS, the Arabic SOS system is completely ours.
Okay. I just see on the chat whether a question from Amina Abdul Karim, who asks whether SOS has an interface. I guess she's asking about a graphic user interface, or whether it uses command line tool.
Unfortunately, it's only command line, and it works only under Unix systems. There are two reasons for that. Reason number one is that the majority of computational linguists, probably if not all computational linguists, are Unix users. This is number one. Reason number two, I'm not very good with graphical systems. I work only with the command line, and I'm terribly bad at design. You can judge by my slides. So this probably requires someone who knows better how to design good interfaces. Although actually someone approached us the other day, and we are in the process of creating a web-based system that automates the whole process. So everything that you see today is going to be automated, and this should be ready in a few months. So if you have text collection, you can just upload it to the website, and it will do everything for you. It will do correction, orthographic correction, morphological segmentation, and topic modeling. And that will be free. It's not a commercial website. It's a research website.
But I was just going to ask you whether there's a commercial service or is it a free?
No, it's the only part that might go commercial because it's huge success at the OCR system. But again, the OCR system is not part of this project.
So another question, sort of follow on. Which language is this written in? I think Amina was asking whether Python is possible.
Actually, yeah, Arabic SOS is it uses extreme gradient boosting, which is a C++ library with a Python interface. So you can use Python to do everything.
Okay.
There's a question from Osama and Sinai. She was also asking the same question. The question is, in different forms for the same concept, we need a lexical tool such as sorry, I cannot pronounce I can't pronounce the tool. If Osama can give us, can unmute himself and ask the question.
Yes, please, Osama.
Thesaurus?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asking, in different forms for the same concept, we need a lexical tool such as the words.
A thesaurus?
Yes, a thesaurus.
Okay, so lexical analysis is actually a hard problem, and disambiguation. But right now, most disambiguation is done through neural language models, and the disambiguation is really good. So we've been playing with this, and lexical disambiguation through neural language models, that's very successful. We've been playing with this, but integrating this with topic models that we're going to see has not been successful. Most topic models are self-explanatory, and they are self-disambiguating. Adding those language models to it does not actually help a lot. If you have technical things, we can talk about the technical things after this.
Okay. Just before we move on, there is a question from Abdallah Umran who asks, is the digital part in digital humanities limited to text recognition, making the machine readable, or does it serve other purposes? If you don't mind, I'd like to respond to that one real quick.
Yeah, sure.
So the digital humanities part is actually what's coming next. I think everything that Ahmed has presented so far is just a technical background to what I perceive as the digital humanities with a capital H.
That's correct.
That goes on. So digital humanities is really a way of doing humanities research with digital tools in order to see things that you can't see otherwise. And a really nice example that I keep citing again and again is a wonderful paper that was published in the first issue of the journal Current Research in Digital History. If you want to Google that, Current Research in Digital History. And it's a paper about Indian treaties in the United States. As settlers pushed westwards, they were making treaties with the Native American population. And these texts were all digitized, and they were analyzed in this paper using similarity analysis. And these similarities are plotted into a map and were plotted onto a kind of grid to show how borrowing happened across time and space. And because of the bulk of the text, I mean, we're literally talking about thousands and thousands of words and hundreds of different treaties, it would be humanly impossible to read and remember everything and to see these patterns. So the digital tools enable the researcher to realize that a particular phrase turns up in a particular area over a particular span of time. And what comes next is the interpretation of why that is so. And that is the humanities part. So that is at least my perception. We can quarrel about it, but that is my take on the matter. And yeah, Ahmed, you may want to expand.
Yes, that's completely correct. I agree completely with that. So what digital humanities, this is just the technical background. And if you are a humanities person, if you are a history researcher, for example, once our website is developed, and I hope it gets developed soon, you will not need any of this technical background. Or when you have a bunch of text, you can just upload them and get the results. For me, digital humanities is a way of doing things. So a human researcher can do anything given an unlimited amount of time. So, for example, one magazine that we have digitized is 11,000 pages, and no one has published anything about it yet. So imagine you want to read 11,000 pages. That's extremely hard. Now we have digitized 4 such magazines. One of them has 65,000, one 11,000, and so on. Imagine you want to do all this kind of research. You want to discover what these machines are talking, what these magazines are talking about, what each writer is interested in, which similarities there are, which writers are similar, which writers are different, which articles talk about the same thing, which articles reply to each other, and so on. It's humanly impossible to do this in a human lifetime. So digital humanities can do that. So I'll move now to my study of Al-Manar.
There is a final question with yes or no question. It only needs yes or no. Muhammad Salah Mdawi is asking, are the softwares developed by Dr. Ahmed the open source ones?
Yeah, most of them are.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So let me share screen again. And so can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so just want to remove this. Okay, just a minute. Okay. So let's look at the results, for example. So all these results were produced, after we finished all the software design and things. All these results were produced in something like 10 minutes. And now we had a system, and we tried on different other magazines, different other book collections, and so on. And the experiments as a whole takes less than 10 minutes. So we want to discover what the main topics of Al-Manar were, what things Rashid Rida was interested in, and how these things developed over time. So now we have the tools to do that. And let's look at this one. So this is a topic. If you don't know Arabic, this is a topic that's about poetry and literature. So the keywords are قول, شعر, شاعر, بيت, نفس, معنى, شعراء, أدب, نظم, قصيدة, وصف, and so on. So this is about poetry. So when was Rashid Rida interested in poetry and how this happened? If you look here, so this shows us, this is a graph from 1898 until 1935. It shows us the development of the interest in poetry. So for example, you know, when we started, poetry was 2% of the content. Then here in 1901, it was 2.9%, and the maximum interest was in 1920, where it reached 3.7%. So this shows us how the interest in poetry went on. In the beginning, there was interest in poetry. It went down, went up again in 1920, and then kept going down, you know, almost down. So the magazine or Rashid Rida or whoever lost interest in poetry. This is an example of tracing a specific topic through time. So we're going to see a few topics, and some of them are important. Some of them may not be very important. So this is another one, for example. It's the keywords are assembly, Islamic, committee, conference, you know, something like that. And I'm not a historian, but without consulting any historian, I can see that this is a kind of Islamic assembly, and we are holding a conference about that. I'm not gonna get any further into this, but we can see that the interest in this was very limited in the beginning, but at some point in 1911, this constituted 3.74% of the whole content, and went down again until there was, in 1931, there was an interest again. Now it's up to a historian to tell us, you know, why there was some interest in 1920 and 1931, why it went down, why it went up, and so on. If Amr is available, I hope he can talk about this later. And I'm gonna see a few topics. So this is a very interesting one because it's about diseases. So we have diseases, patients, we have doctors, injections, symptoms, air inflicted, and these kinds of things. And this wasn't an important topic in the beginning, but we find a jump in the topic between 1915 and 1916. So from 1915 to 16, there was so much interest in this. And as far as I remember from my discussions with them, this is a time where the cholera spread in Egypt. And there was so much interest in this. So using just digital tools without knowing much about history can tell you that at that point, there was so much interest in diseases. It went down and went up again in 1926. So as I said, I'll talk only about the digital things, not about the history per se, because I'm not qualified enough to talk about the history. Then this is another very important topic, talks about qubur, masjid. It's about mausoleums, graves, and mosques, and so on. And this wasn't a very important topic. But then we see a jump in the topic in 1927. And from, as far as I remember from my discussions with Amr, the historian, he said this was right after Rashid Rida came back from Saudi Arabia and after his talks with the Wahhabis and the Al Saud family in Saudi Arabia. He came back and wrote about that it's wrong to venerate graves and mausoleums and to have graves in mosques and so on, which was not a very important topic before. So we can see some political things here that can be discovered by digital tools. But again, it's up to historians to validate this. This about the Ottoman Empire, the Committee of Union and Progress, and again we can see the interest in it in 1913, just before the First World War. I'll pass quickly on a few things, some interesting things. So this is a very important topic that I remember. Also, so Rashid Rida was very much interested in education in the beginning. So this is a topic about children and education and how to educate children. So this was a very important topic in the beginning, and you know, it's 5% of the content in 1900, but then it faded away. So as Rashid Rida's interest moved from education and knowledge and more into politics, this topic was not as important as it was in the beginning. Again, this is about, you know, shortening prayers. It shows again during his trips to Saudi Arabia performing Hajj. This is about war, Germany, England, Russia, and so on, and we can see that. Again, this is about Islamic reform. This is a topic about Islamic reform. In the beginning, it was not very important, then it went up again very much. And the downtrend at the very end, you know, so here it was up. This is, I think, the last things Rashid Rida wrote. But then during the end thing, this is when Hassan al-Banna became the editor of Al-Manar. That thing went down again. So the interest in Islamic reform, historians can verify that. So we can see lots of things about translation and the Quran, how it's going down. This is about missionary activities. You know, British, English missionary activities in India that reached the peak in 1912. Historians can confirm that. And again, this is about the Hijaz, Saudi Arabia, the current Saudi Arabia, and so on. And we have lots of topics like that. This is about microbes and infection. Again, we see the peak in 1915. And so on. So we can see how topic modeling can model this, you know, how to track an incident, how to discover events and how to track them. Well, we have 60 such topics that summarize this about, you know, the Christians, crucifixion, the Jews' question, the Bible, and so on. The interest again is 1912, and there were lots of missionary activities in Egypt. Then this is about Palestine, and so on. So I'll just show these some important. This about ethics and morality and so on. The interest was very high in the beginning, and then went down. As you remember, he was very much interested in education in the beginning, but this interest faded away as he got more interested into politics.
Ahmed, can I just ask you to explain a little bit on the technical background of these graphs? So you said that, say, topic X is represented in 5% of the magazine's articles in a given year. Okay. What does that actually mean? Does it mean that one article as a whole has been classified as treating a particular topic?
No, yes and no. So an article can have several topics.
Right.
So a single article can actually have all the 60 topics with different probabilities.
Okay, and when does it get assigned to one topic or rather another? When it contains all the words assigned to a topic, or when it contains a particular percentage of words?
When it contains a particular percentage of words. So I don't remember exactly what percentage I set it to, but there was a minimum. So we say, for example, you consider it to belong to the topic only if only if 10% of it is part of this topic. For example, something like that. So these are all parameters that you can set. But an article can have several topics.
Okay.
And when I say that it's 5%, when I say, for example, it's 5% of the content in 1920, this means 5% of all the articles in Al-Manar in 1920 had that topic in them, but this does not necessarily mean that the whole article was on that topic.
Right. Okay. So one has to critique the results a little bit. Now, Mohammed Salah has raised his hands. If you want to unmute and talk.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Yes. Dr. Imad, thank you very much. How deep you go for text analysis? You are just at the level of the title only, or you are going into the text, the full article text?
The full article.
Wow.
So this analyzes the full article, the whole article, not the title. Does this answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
This is very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. So these are all parameters that you can set. So you can say, for example, the minimum should be 5%, the minimum should be something like that. And because an article can exhibit several topics, and a topic, of course, has several articles, there's a lot of interaction and there's a lot of leeway to play with the things. But the general results hardly get affected by that. So of course, I cannot evaluate that. So when I did that and I took it to Amr and say, okay, what do you think of these results? Amr himself gave a little talk about this in Zurich and later in the Netherlands, and then later in Zurich, and said he was surprised actually that machines can get these results that usually take humans a lot of time to get. Now, of course, if you want to do proper analysis, you have to combine this with a historian's perspective. This alone is enough to give you a general idea of what's going on, but it doesn't explain, for example. For example, how do you know? You have to combine this with lots of world knowledge to understand, for example, that the rise of microbe at this point was because of the cholera and what happened during then and so on. Or that his interest in the graves and the mausoleums was sparked by his visit to Saudi Arabia. All these things what historians do best. Okay, so this is about Khalifa Muslim, for example, and the interest in it we can see in 1922, and it's not a coincidence. This is this exact same year that the Caliphate was cancelled, rescinded in Istanbul, for example. So this gives pretty accurate results. The interpretation, of course, is up to grabs, and you need to know more about the history to interpret that. I think so. For example, if we go here, this is about usury, for example, riba and so on. And all I can say as a computational linguist here is that there was interest in this topic in 1929, and that it's 4% of the articles in 1929 talked about this thing. I have no idea why. So this is where collaboration with a historian would be the best. And this brings to the conclusion of my presentation on how you can use computational tools to discover history. Another thing is that something I also did was that once I was interested in a topic, I would, so for example, this is the topic about poetry. This is topic number 0, for example. Now I want to see all the articles that talk about poetry. So what I can do is that I can extract all the topics that are well representative, that are good representatives of the poetry topic, and do a further topic analysis on them. So instead of doing topic analysis on 5,000 articles, I do it only on 200, for example, and see further and further details. So I can then discover, for example, that 20% of the articles were actually about Al-Mutanabbi, while 10% were about Ahmad Shawqi, for example. And this will tell us, for example, who was the most important poet at the time. And what aspects of poetry did they talk about? Did they talk about the arud, for example? Did they talk about the language? Did they talk about the colloquial versus the fusha, and so on? So you can do this discovery completely automatically. And you right now with this pipeline, you can have, we have a Risala, which is 63,000 articles, and we did a Risala all in 10 minutes. So, and this concludes my presentation. Please, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer the ones I know. If I do not know the answer, I can probably refer you to someone who can give you a better answer to that. Thank you. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Ahmed, for this fantastic presentation. It's been extremely interesting. I'm very curious to look at these graphs, and I look forward to actually trying my hand at the tool itself when it does become available. Now, I have a question on the chat here from Sinai. She's asking whether the document for topic modeling is the issue or the article, and does the digitization process include article segmentation?
Well, that's up to the researcher to do. If you choose to do it at the sentence level, no one can stop you from doing that. So it's up to you. This specific experiment is at the article level. But you might feel that the article level is not fine-grained enough, because in many cases, each paragraph actually talks about something different. So you might use your knowledge of the material to say, okay, I'll do it at the paragraph level, or I'll do it at the sentence level. Or maybe you can discover natural segmenters in the text. For example, I was working with a collection of fatwas, and it's all one huge document, a huge document. There are no separators. So I had to look for, okay, where can I find the beginning of the question and the answer, and then map the questions to the answers, and I created a corpus in which each document is a question and its own answer, and this way I did it. So it's up to the researcher what level of document segmentation to be done.
Right. Actually, I wonder if I can chip in with a question about another technical detail. So you said that one part of the process for preparing a text was named entity recognition. Is that right?
Yes, but it's not been used in this one.
Oh, it hasn't been used. Okay, good. I was going to ask what the output of that was, whether you're using some kind of XML in the background.
Actually, we use plain text. XML is big in the digital humanities world, but for most computational linguists in general, I'm sorry for that, we don't like XML. It's too cumbersome.
Right.
So what we use is something called structured text.
Okay.
So in structured text, you have, for example, you have a document. And that structured text usually tells you that from position 17 to position 31 is a name. And this is usually characters. From position 71 to position 80, that's a geographical location, and so on.
So is that in the header of the file, or is that in a separate file?
It's a separate file. It's called standoff annotation. And the reason we use standoff annotation is that we do not want to touch the original. We want to keep the original as is. We don't touch it at all. And then for each original document, there is an annotation document that we call the standoff annotation document that has information about the original document with numbers in it, numbers and labels. Yeah.
Okay. And so, but it would only say that from position X to position Y, it contains a name. It does not say which name it contains.
Oh, once you extract that, well, so you can use any programming language. To extract. So, for example, you want, okay, let's, you can say, for example, create an HTML file in which if you find a name, a person's name, make it red, for example, make it a red highlight. You can do that. And this way you can look at all the names at once. So we use this because it makes life much easier when you want to display things. You can display it in HTML. You can create XML out of it, actually. You can do HTML. You can do anything you like. It's just that it makes your life easier when these things are in a separate file with XML is a lot of things.
Yeah.
So the information contained is little compared to the structure. It is too big on structure, which is a good thing, of course, in different things. But we want things to be very transparent. So most of the time, we use what we call structured text files, not XML files.
Okay, good. Now, I guess what I'm driving at is because I come from a library, I come from a cataloging background, particularly, and we are, of course, almost obsessive about wanting to assign persistent identifiers. And in Excel, that's what you would do, and you would, in a TI file, for example, link a name to a particular persistent identifier, be it an authority file like VF or something else of that sort.
Yeah, this all can be done in structured files. And the good thing about these structured files is that you can create XML on the fly.
Oh, okay.
So you can create a script that takes the files and create XML on the fly. So for me, I'm not interested in XML per se, but if you ask me to give you all these things in XML, I can do it. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Final
So,
from Nadia.
if anyone's got a question, please go ahead.
We have a final question from Nadia Abdul Ghaffar. Would you please mute?
Okay. Thank you, Ahmed, for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I can really relate to that, and I enjoyed it a lot. Someone who trained originally as a historian and then later as a linguist.
Okay, it's good.
I working with Awqaf documents from the 16th century onward. Yeah. And I was wondering if there is an OCR system that can help with handwritten documents, not just printed material. Do you know of anything that you can recommend to help me process or basically reach results similar to what you have done?
Our system currently works only on printed material, but it works well with all the ones. For the handwritten material, there's a project at a German university whose name I don't recall now, but they have, was it Hamburg? Maybe. I've met with the guys. They have produced a decent system for handwritten material. But when I say decent, it's probably at 60% correct. So in the reality, if you want to do it, having trained typists is the best option right now. But this thing was very decent because probably given enough time, they may be able to get something there. But right now, there's nothing that can do handwritten material well.
Can you share with us on the chat or send us the information about this group or this?
I don't remember which group, but I'll make my email available, and if you send me an email, I'll try and remember, and I'll probably be able to send you the details because I have a friend who used to work for them. So I'll just send an email and ask. I met them at a conference once. We had a little chat. That's the only group I know that have made progress with manuscripts. There is another group in Canada at the McGill University, and a few years